HR Maximizer is a subscription-based recruitment service that partners with you in helping you to attract more registered nurses, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, techs, and physicians to your open positions. We want to help you find the best talent. We know you're great at recruiting locally, and that's certainly something that you will continue to do, and we would encourage you to do. However, with our service, we help you to expand your reach to a regional and a national level to attract nurses that would never know about your facility or have little awareness of your facility and your offering and what you have to offer as an organization. We help you to gain that visibility, that awareness, and then we also help to position your opportunity in the best way that makes them want to apply. And once they want to apply, we make it incredibly easy for them to apply. We also give them an opportunity to talk to a representative as quick as possible. Now, our representatives that we have really serve as an extension of your facility. So once we actually get that person on the phone, we're able to quickly screen them with some criteria that you would supply us with. Perhaps it's something like, do they already have a license or a compact license in the state? Or have they already applied for it? Maybe we ask a little bit about their experience. And by us asking just a few questions over a very short span of time, we will get enough information, do a write-up, and send you that candidate over to you for you to review and of course forward on to your hiring managers. Now, some facilities like to have their own phone screens, which is totally fine. We're able to work with that. Sometimes what we've done is we've done a little bit different questions than what the recruiter at the facility would ask, and the recruiter would ask the additional questions. In some places, they prefer us to do a little bit more lengthy phone screening. We've done that as well, so that they can look at that information, look at the person's application, make sure it's someone who is qualified. Of course, they're going to re-verify they're qualified. They're also going to look at if they ever have worked at that facility before and if they're rehireable, or perhaps if they've already been submitted by an organization, another agency, they'll be able to know that and be able to log that before passing it on to the hiring manager. So we can certainly comply with that as well. But what we found is that by the nurse getting that one-to-one contact on a very quick basis, which sometimes a facility is just not able to offer, especially if they're shorthanded or if there's a lot of things going on at the facility with other positions, we're able to kind of step in and help to get that first point of contact within 1 to 3 business days. And I would say 3 business days is more the exception. More of the rule is going to be within 1 business day, and usually, very rarely, 2 business days, and then almost never all to the 3rd business day. So we want to make sure that that nurse gets that touch very quickly, because we're noticing on a national basis that in some places recruiters are contacted within 1 business day, they're offered an interview by the next business day, and by the following business day they may have an offer. So really within 3 business days they may already have an offer in hand. So we definitely don't want to wait too long to reach back out to some of these nurses, especially in this highly active market that we're in right now. There's lots of outreach from recruiters, from third-party recruiters, and there's of course outreach from an advertising perspective from other competitors, other organizations from throughout the United States. And when you're recruiting nationally, you're not just competing against other places in your area. You're now competing against the national marketplace. And so in order to do that, it can't be just about money. It has to be more about what's your organization like, what's the culture like, what's it like to work with the people there, what's the area like, and that's where we go a step further to help you with building awareness of those other parts of your organization that they just can't find anywhere else. You know, they can only find your culture in one place, and that's at your facility. So we want to help portray that in the best possible light for those who would be interested in that type of culture, that type of organization, which would be your organization. So HR Maximizer starts to do all of that. It builds the awareness. We're able to advertise, and of course, all the major job boards, but we go a step further and actually go in places where they weren't necessarily looking for a job. So we're able to get some of those passive candidates that would not normally be aware of your facility because they're not all over Indeed and Glassdoor. Another thing we're able to do is once we get in front of that passive recruit or that passive candidate, we're able to present them things that they're actually interested in, things that they want to know about in a potential facility. For instance, what is it like to work at your facility in the actual place where they will be working? So if they're a med-surg nurse, what's the patient room look like? The nurse's station. If they're working in OR, what's the operating room look like? What is it like to work with the other people there? Perhaps maybe having some of the interviews with some of the other peer nurses at the organization. What is it like to work for that hiring manager? Will I like that person? That's one of the things I asked when I was talking with several of the nurse consultants. That's one of the things that go through their mind within just a few seconds. They want to know, can I get along with this person? Would I want to work with that person? And you may say, well, I have a manager that's kind of hard to get along with. I don't know if I want to put that person on the video. Well, I get that. I understand that. However, is it beneficial to bring someone in only to have them not get along with that manager and end up leaving anyway? Or doing that first interview and all of a sudden they start ghosting you and you have no idea why they're not connecting? We've found it's been better to go ahead and up front let folks know what that hiring manager is like, so that they can see if they resonate with that person. Because just because you may not see them as someone who would be appealing to the mass market of nurses, that's not really the point, is it? Really the point is, are they going to appeal to that particular recruit, that particular candidate that has that skill set? Because you may be surprised. There may be, just for the things that we may see that we would think that the nurses might not be drawn to, may be exactly why this particular nurse is drawn to that person. And because you had that video there for them to watch and see what that person's like, they said, wow, I'd love to work with that person. So because different people appeal to different other folks, that's why we don't want to rule that out. So we suggest to be authentic as possible, be transparent, have your hiring managers on those videos, have some of the other teammates on the videos as well. And not just nurses. The nurses have said to us, we don't want to just see the nurses, we also want to see some of the other folks that work there too, like some of the techs, maybe the unit secretaries. They like to see what those folks are like as well. So having a series of videos. We've also found that it's not just like having one video. Like you go to the website and there's like 1 or 2 videos there for them to look at. It's a career video about how awesome the place is. Those have their place. Not saying not to have those type of videos, but if you just have those and you don't have anything else, you're really missing the point. It's really about having a library of videos that appeal to different people in different departments doing different roles. So depending on how large your organization is, I would suggest having a library of at least 20 to 50 videos. We've got some clients that have upwards of 100 videos because it really helps to have that extra information. And the nurses don't want to see the same thing twice. So if you have an ad and you only have one video to show, it's not appealing to them. And we found that it takes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times of exposure to the same nurse to get them to take an action. And you know that. You as a consumer are probably the same way. There may be something that you purchased and you only purchased that item after having several different touches with that particular brand. Maybe you saw it one time in a TV ad, another time you saw it on your phone, another time you saw it when you're on your laptop computer and you were looking up a site and it came up, this ad, and then you decided to purchase it. It works the same way with the nurses, and we try and be in different places. So whether they're on Facebook today or Instagram tomorrow, LinkedIn the next day, they're on a medical website another day, they're on YouTube another day, we're able to catch them no matter where they go. And it's interesting how the stats are right now. The stats are staggering in terms of where the internet traffic is going. Google, of course, we know is #1 in terms of the #1 visited website, and I would say probably in the world, but certainly the United States. But you know what's #2? YouTube. YouTube is not only #2, but it's also found to be a search engine. So instead of people going to Google to search things, they're actually going to YouTube to search things. Now that has happened to a certain extent with Indeed, because with Indeed, it has become somewhat of a job search engine because it does have a good inventory of jobs. So a lot of times when people are looking for jobs, because that's such a big name in a lot of people's minds, including nurses, by the way, I would say probably 8 to 9 out of 10 nurses that we talk to, when they look for jobs, they a lot of times will look at Indeed. So that's a pretty staggering figure. But that's just based on anecdotal research. We found it to be incredibly effective to utilize sites like Indeed and other websites that have video on their webpage to leverage those spaces to put ads for our particular clients on those particular sites. We found a lot of success in doing that. And we're very strategic as to where those ads go. And that has worked extremely well. So what we've also done is we've used remarketing as a tool. So let's say they see one of our ads, one of our videos, I say your videos that we produce, they click on the ad, so they go to our landing page that we've created. Once they go to that landing page, we capture that information through the form of either a pixel or some type of cookie, so that when they go to another site, let's say it's Facebook, Instagram, those particular sites, we're able to actually retarget them again and send them another ad. This is a very commonly used strategy. No doubt you have seen that as well. Perhaps you're looking at a site, you're interacting with that site, you're kind of interested, but you end up leaving that site and going to another one, only to find that an ad for that same company is existing in this other place where you went. Well, that wasn't by accident. And you'll probably notice when you visit a lot of sites now, they will ask you for permission and letting you know, look, we use cookies on this site. That's what that does. It helps them to be able to track that information. Now, they're not tracking you individually. They don't know who you are individually. What it is, it's just a code that's captured and it's triggered every time you visit that site. And so when you visit another site that's somehow connected with whoever's doing the advertising, they're able to re-show you another ad in the sponsored ad in that other site. So it can be incredibly useful for being able to have multiple touches with that same nurse to give them an opportunity to look at you again. And the last thing you want to do is have the same ad playing over and over again. So you want to have multiple amounts of different ads, multiple amounts of different videos, so when they watch another video, maybe it's a different person, or maybe it's the same person talking about a different subject within the confines of that particular organization or opportunity. We found it to be incredibly effective. Now, once they do decide to make that application and apply, that's where we really make sure that it's as easy as possible for them to apply. So we make sure that none of our applications take more than 3 minutes. And we also do our very best to put them in a position where they don't have to create a new account, that they can just put in their information, hit submit, and they're done. Once they do that, we strive to connect with them within 1 to 3 business days. In most cases, we're able to do it the same day, which is very powerful. That helps us to be able to get in front of some of those other facilities who take a little bit longer. One interesting note about this, and I've watched a lot of different social media influencers who talk about their experience in looking for jobs. And they talk about how when they're looking for that next job, for a lot of them, it's even a matter of prayer, and they're looking at signs if this is a good move for them. And I've seen more than one of them talk about how they thought or they felt like when the facility reached out to them quickly, that was a positive sign for them, and in some cases an answer to their prayer. Now, without getting religious or philosophical, if you just look at it from a recruitment standpoint, the quicker that we can make that first contact, the more positive view they have of our particular organization, facility, opportunity, what have you. And if we keep that flow of communication working at a very positive, quick level, that continues to give them additional signs that we're an organization that they should be taking a look at. So after they apply, we make sure that we make that first contact as quickly as we can. And then once we get that information compiled, that they are truly qualified based on the criteria that you've given us, we get that information over to you as soon as possible so that you can review it, make sure it's in line with what you were looking for, and then you can pass it on to the hiring manager and hopefully we can get an interview scheduled within the next couple of days. And that's another thing that we found is very crucially important, is having that interview within 1 to 3 business days, no more than a week, to try and have some type of interview, whether it's a phone screen or a face-to-face interview, anything we can do to keep that level of communication going, not allowing 2, 3, 4 weeks to pass by before we reach back out to that candidate, and only to find out that they're not responding to us or they've already found another job. So we feel that's incredibly important. We're also finding that a lot of facilities throughout the United States are offering their same-day offers in some cases, or next-day offers. So we're talking within 24 to 48 hours, they have an offer in hand. So if you're somehow able to do that, great, keep doing that, and that is going to keep you competitive on a national basis. If you're not doing that, then we really want to encourage you to look at ways to try and cut that process down where you're able to get it within 1 to 2 business days at the most. I think if you're able to do it within 3, that's acceptable in the minds of the nurse. They will give you that much leeway. But if you really want to be on the forefront in terms of your competition, you want to do it within 1 to 2 business days. And of course, you can still do it on that 3rd business day. But once you go past that 3rd business day, you're really in a danger zone of perhaps losing the interest. And they may not even think that you're interested in them because it's taken so long. So that's something to keep in consideration. Or one of the things that organizations like about partnering with us is that we're able to give feedback not only on an anecdotal level about where we are on certain candidates. They like the idea that we can actually show analytics over a period of time of how many folks were actually brought through the process. So although we don't have control over the hiring process, and we're typically not involved in tracking those numbers, what we are able to track is how many people are actually looking at the ads that we're putting out there. We can also track roughly how many people are applying for those jobs. I shouldn't say roughly, we know exactly how many people are applying for those jobs, and then also how many of those people are actually sent on to your organization. That can be incredibly useful for you when you're looking at your hiring numbers and you're compiling all that information, so that when you do have that and you're able to look at basically your recruitment like a funnel, and you'll know how many people need to see your ads that will turn into an actual hire. Or you'll know how many people that were sent to a particular hiring manager versus how many are hired. That gives you an idea how many candidates we need to find in order to fill future positions for that particular manager. This can be incredibly useful to have this types of analytic data and access to this analytic data over a period of time. We're able to help you to do that. We're able to help you to not only track the traffic, but also start to benchmark that traffic when it comes to getting future traffic to the job opportunities that we're promoting for you. And because we use so many different areas to try and get these folks in, it can be incredibly a time saver for you to not have to compile that information, and we're able to do that for you.